Hey everyone! Whew, yay! Hopefully that intro didn't completely mess you up on audio or anything. This is going to be slightly more, well, what shall we say? Not less quality, but you know what I mean. No massive flashy effects everywhere and things like that for doing these next three top 10s. I'm actually looking into some shall we say, new kit to make the streams a bit more high tech. So I'm thinking of like an Elgato Stream Deck, get some lower thirds, so I can do the top 10s live, just basically to beef this up a bit. But obviously for these next 10, I don't have time for that. So these next three are just basically going to be a bit like my typical Q&A format, just without as much of the chat and more about focusing on the games. So hello to you, Blue Inquisition, Kabuki Kid, Omar, Nick, Gems, Ajan, Vala, and hopefully everybody else. So if you're watching this live, then thank you for joining me. And if you're just going to watch this later, then by all means, thank you for watching as well. No problem there. So, and no, I will not be giving away a copy of each of the 30 games. So I've got my list here. So just to sort of recap what this is, this is the 30 to 21 of my top 100. Basically, this is taking too long. I need to get these wrapped up. So these next 3 days are going to be all 30 of my top 100 games. Okay, so the 30 of my top 100. It gets horrible to say these things, but essentially 10 now, 10 tomorrow night, 10 the following night. Then the top 100's done for another year, and then I can get back to actually doing some top 10s, the actual top 10s that people want me to do. I've got a Ticket to Ride list I want to do. There's games that blew me away that's tempting. There's 10 animal games that might be good for a laugh. There's all sorts of ideas that I'm throwing around the $5 upwards Patreons at the moment. So, hopefully we'll get something out of that. So I've got my list. I'm going to try and make sure the stream doesn't take too long, maximum 1 hour, if I can help it. But we'll see. Hopefully I can get it shorter, because obviously people who watch this and like the pre-recorded versions prefer to watch the pre-recorded versions, obviously don't want the video taking forever. And I will put timestamps in the video after it's uploaded online. So eventually you'll be able to get it in the description and timestamp favorite segments as well. So you haven't got to go through the stream and try and find your specific one. So without further ado, you know the score. Get on with it. Let's see if I can make certain I don't give spoilers, though. Just want to double check everything's in order. So that's ready. And essentially what I'm going to do is I will use my web browser to show the, the games themselves and the images. I mean, this is why it's saving me time to do this. And, it means that I can just browse through the images on Board Game Geek, tell you about the game, and sort of get my things across. Feel free to talk about the game itself in the chat, whether you like it, hate it, whatever. And I'm not going to interact too much during the normal games chat, because obviously I want to keep the time length down to a certain length. But then what I might do is I might sort of, shall we say, talk to each other after I've done talking about all the games, and then we can give feedback, because then at least that's at the end. And yes, don't worry, Nick, you will get timestamps. Once it's uploaded, I'll put them in the description. It might just take a few minutes for me to go through the video and find out where they all are again. So, going on to number 30. So on this 10, I've got 4 new games to talk about, guys. There's more new games in these top 30. So it's going to be, in the sense, lots more interesting titles and some paradigm shifts. But my number 30 dropped, let's see, where's it gone? Just check this. Nope, it's brand new. Of course it hasn't dropped anything. So this is the game that everybody loves to love and hate at the same time. If you see this game talked about online, whether it's on Facebook groups, it is just like half the group wants to talk about nothing but this game. But the other half wants this game to burn in hell and not be done with it. It's kind of like the frozen let it go of board games. And of course, I wonder if you lot can figure out which one it is. But let's go to the web browser so that you can see it. Wingspan. Oh yeah, Wingspan. Everybody loves to either love this game or hate this game with a passion, but I love the game. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. I won't play it with 5 players, okay, I think the player count is a little bit mad there, but Wingspan itself is just a really, really good game in general. I mean, I can't really say much more positive about it that it already hasn't had from people. It looks beautiful. It's got a appealing theme. Okay, it's abstracted to a point, but who else has done like, birds in this regard? I mean, the app even gives you trivia on the birds, which I find like really, really good. And component-wise, you've got those linen player boards, a linen finished rulebook, the bird feeder, which granted, mine's slightly broke. Slightly broke, so I might need to get a wooden one and fix it. But you've got the little eggs, which people are still tempted to eat, no matter what you tell them about the game. It's like, do not eat my components, but, some people want to. But it just looks so beautiful. It's so elegant. I want to teach this to my dad so badly, but I can't because I don't think he'll get the game. I've got to keep games very simple for my parents. And, sorry. And I think this will be a little bit too much for my dad to handle. So, I'm just, it's a bit of a shame, but he's a bird nut. Absolute bird nut. This is like theme is so up his right. And, I've got European expansion, lots of cool birds. I'm looking forward to Oceania as well. The Autumner's really good in this. The app is brilliant. The digital board game app, you can check out my live stream I did of that one. It's so beautiful with little music and trivia stuff that you learn about the birds. It's just a fantastic game. And granted, not for everybody. The people who hate on it, fine. It's got an element of luck. You're drawing from a deck of cards. What do you expect? And it's, some of the powers may seem a little bit better than others, but I just think for the smoothness and just that kind of zen-like feel of playing this game, it's like playing Takinoko or Tokaido. Everything just feels, nice. I feel calm when playing this game, as if I was just sitting by a lake and watching some birds, and it feels nice to, it's one of those feel-good games, but I agree that downtime is a bit mad when you get to, say, 4 or 5 players. I prefer to play this solo 2 or 3 players. And, it just works for a lot of people. I like seeing what people have done with birdhouses. I need to get a wooden one and replace the cardboard one I've got because it is busted. I think Etsy's got quite a load of good stuff on there. But yeah, it's just a really, really, really nice game. So moving on, after I've had a bit of a water, my throat is still not fully healed, let's just say that. I wish I could get the live chat on something a little bit different than my screen, but apparently not, so whatever. But, oh wait, next up, 29. This one is a big riser, actually. It is risen 13 places. I'm reading the wrong number there. And somebody in the chat in the last top 10 said that, he's like, have you not talked about this game yet? I feel like I've missed it. You must have already talked about it already, otherwise it wouldn't be this high. Joke's on you, pal. It is this high. This number 29 is a game that I recently did a video on. It was the first in my Movers and Shakers series that I've started, where I talk about games that have gone up or down in ratings. And this one has just gotten better and better for me as time goes on. It is Citadels. So, it's just a... There we go. I know. Citadels. Just checking there. Excellent. There we go. So, Citadels itself is just a phenomenal role selection game. I mean, you've got that simple case of draft the hand of cards with different characters on, and this master set is the way to go. It started off as an 8 out of 10 when I first played it. It is now easily a 9 out of 10, like, without this master set, and now with this master set, it's absolutely fantastic. It's a 10 out of 10 game for me. I just get a kick out of it. It's so simple for me to teach. I mean, I'll play this with the basic 8 characters, no problem. But I like to throw in some of the new stuff. I'm thinking of which characters I like in particular. I mean, I like a lot of the originals, to be honest. The original characters are all really good, but the tax collector can be quite good for money. I like the abbot, steal off the richest player. I like the cardinal. I like the 5 ones pretty much. The navigator is a pretty sweet one. The scholar, I think, is another one, always pretty good. I like the diplomat. The number 8 one where you exchange locations is really cool. And yeah, granted, I think the characters in the 3rd set, i.e. this set that they brought in, are not as good as the originals and the Dark City expansion ones, but it doesn't matter. You still get this set because it just looks gorgeous. I mean, the tarot cards themselves are reason enough to get this game because they're bigger, they look cool, the artwork's great. It's weird that they did a gender swap on a lot of pictures, actually. I never quite understood why, but they're just so... Look at that. That looks infinitely better in terms of artwork than the classic version. Not to say the classic version was bad, but it was its own style. Here, though, I mean, check that church on the left there. This one over here. That landscape in the background with the sunny hill and the shadow, the cloud, and the little church there. It looks like something out of... is it? No, it's not Gone with the Wind. What's the one with... what's her name singing? The hills are alive with the sound... Oh, Sound of Music. Yeah, duh. It looks like something out of that. But even these other locations, they look gorgeous, as well as all the character art. You got the big physical crown counter. It's a bit of a shame they kept the gold as these little gold strepsils. I'm not quite sure why they had to be like that. Because it seemed a little bit like, okay, you've improved on this, but why did you keep us with the gold strepsils? I don't know. But again, if you're not into role selection, then it's not going to be one for you, and you can't play it solo, but I will play this with 2 to 5 players easily. I mean, 2 and 3 players is very different to 4 and 5 because you get 2 characters at a time instead of 1. But it works great. Even 2-player, a back and forth with the 2 of you with 2 characters trying to suss each other out. Like, oh, you took the assassin, so which one do you think I took out of these 2? And you're trying to escape each other. And even if you do get assassinated, you still get 1 turn. You don't lose your entire turn. So 2 and 3-player works really well. But I've been playing it quite a lot lately at my Portsmouth club because I've had a few new people turn up, and because of the COVID rules, we've ended up on a situation where if you sit down at a table, you're stuck on that table. So if we end up with 5 or 6 players, we're stuck with 5 or 6 players, and I have to find games that can cater for 5 or 6 players. Hello, Citadels. So yep, Citadel's always a hit for me. I mean, it has just gone up in my ratings, and love it, love it, love it. And it can be a very, very mean game. Yes, I agree, Luke. It can very well be. Hey, Ramblings, how you doing? Yes, you do need to get a copy. Everybody needs a copy of this game. It is fantastic. So, cool. Next up, checking on. We got another new title to the list, and this one, I make a big deal. Well, I make a lot of big deal things about Gloomhaven and stuff like that, and even the new Super Fantasy Brawl that's coming out. The box being too big or being like a crate of something. Now, granted, I've upgraded my Sentinels in the Multiverse game to like a big crate as well, but I'm talking about when it just came in a base set giant crate. This is kind of my thing I have to be a little bit sheepish on, because when I rag on those games for coming in giant crates, I then have to remember, oh yeah, I own this one down there by Alderac Entertainment. But it's shot up to, easily my number 28 already by John DeClaire. He came out with a couple of games that based on a mechanic called, what they called card crafting. So deck building, except you built up the cards. Love Mystic Veil. You've already heard that on the top 100. I like, what's the other one he's done? I like a couple of his other spin-off ones, but this is the big one. Like, this is the huge one, and it is Edge of Darkness. Edge of Darkness has really sung to me, and some of that is because I've actually now had a chance to not only play it a bit more with some friends I have who have the game as well. We've both just like really latched onto it, but I also checked out the solo mode in this, and it's actually a really good solo mode. The AI basically goes to various locations based on these cards that you flip, and you can adjust the difficulty by changing the cards round, but the variety in this game is off the charts with the stuff I got off the Kickstarter version, because with this, wrong picture, I wanted the pop-out chat. Here we go. So with this one, it's card crafting, but it's card crafting mixed with worker placement and, some action selection as well. So it's hard to describe. You've got these 10 different locations, and there's loads of locations in the box represented by huge tiles. They give you special abilities, and they also have a specific card associated with them. These cards are laid out. You have a standard deck to begin with, as with Mystic Veil, and then what happens is each round you get one of the advancement cards. You don't have to buy it. There's no mana or anything like this with Mystic Veil. You just take an advancement. If you get any more advancements, you do it through other effects, but you're always getting some upgrade every turn. And then what you use are these agents. This is the worker placement aspect. The workers go out onto the various locations and trigger various effects to do with the cards that you've hopefully been playing from your hand. The cards come out in a central lineup, a bit like sort of Small World, where you pay more to get the physical cards later in the row. And it's very interactive with other players as well, because if you use other players' cards, you can nick them. Just because you sleeve an advancement doesn't mean that you get the card all the time. It eventually goes back into the middle, and it goes into the middle, and then other people can take your really nice crafted cards and use them for the turn, but they've got to pay you money to use them. So you've always got that thing of, well, I've made this really good card, but do I actually get to use it? I don't know. And I need to show you some more pictures, actually, to try and iterate what I'm talking about. So here you go. So you got the advancements here at the bottom, like the Fast Hello Academy there, and the Farmer, Long Welder. So these are the advancements. So top, middle, and bottom, just like Mystic Veil. Here's a bit more of a close-up. So, duplicate an effect on this card, pay a resource to duplicate other things, gain money. They all do different things. And they've got lots of scenarios where you can play this in a kind of semi-narrative, whatever. I mean, forget the narrative, but it's a beast, this thing. Come on, I got to find some better pictures. Oh, that's a poor picture. That's not even the Kickstarter version. Now, here we go. So you've got, the locations are on site. This is a table hog through and through. You've got your player board where you put your cards and your money and your resources. The advancements go across there, but hang on, and the artwork is pretty sweet as well. I mean, that is a typical tile for location. The Grand Library, number 10. Comes in a giant box, though. Real giant box. It is a bit of a crate. I haven't got every expansion, but here's the other kicker. Do you remember this? This is a cube tower that you basically have on the side of your board. The back of the cards, the advancements, have enemies on them that you fight, and they sit on this cube tower. And as you take cards from the middle, depending on how good they are, you collect more cubes of various colors. And then these cubes get dropped into this tower, and they come out of one of those free slots. And as soon as they reach a certain limit, the enemy comes and attacks everybody whose color was the most in that tray. So you've got to keep an eye on these threats to make certain they don't bash you down because you lose points. But then you could defend yourself against them with the various abilities that you have and get points that way. So you got to keep an eye out on those, as well as the worker placement, as well as the advancements. Wow, there's a lot going on in this. And I mean, it is a head scratcher at times, but even though the theme isn't 100% strong, it just feels like there's theme there. It just feels like you're doing something cool. And I just think the mechanics in this are just so cool. This is one of the most innovative combinations of mechanics I've ever played in a game. And I always love innovation in my games. So it just kind of really sung to me, this one. But yeah, most people have not even heard of it. If you want to check out more, then I highly recommend checking out my review I did back in May. I go into a lot more detail as to what the game is about. I can't spend more time on it right now. What do we got to? Have I seen the Cube Tower and Frostpunk? Yes, I have. Not in detail, but yes, you have a Cube Punk with that tower in the middle. So I do look forward to seeing how that works. That should be pretty sweet. But let's move on to another item. So, oh god, we've got the third new title already. So I said there was 4 in this list. This is the third of 4. We've already got the third new title. Now, I'm not going to say the designer and the publisher just yet, because I think that will give it away too much. I rag a lot on economic games. Has to be said. I hate train games. Yes, I do. I hate a lot of train games when they go into the heavy economics. But even other economic games like Brass and City of the Big Shoulders and, Arkwright and stuff like that. Some of the ones that I've played, I tend to hate. The ones I haven't played, I don't want to play because they would just bore me. I'm an accountant. I do it for a day job. It's not the most fun job in the world. I'd much rather be teaching games. And, and no Board Game Ramblings, this is not a train game. Far from it. But what I'm saying is that this is an economic game that I love. Giving a 10 out of 10 rating to an economic game, for me, is something crazy. Like, what on earth could this be? This is the one economic game that I say has a strong theme, like really strong theme, a unique setting, and is done by one of my favorite designers and publisher combinations, Portal and Ignacy Trzewiczek. I'm talking about Predaporter. Predaporter is the one heavy economic game that I get behind. I'm tantamount praising this game all the time in terms of No, pop-out chat is what I want, not OBS. And with this one, but it looks gorgeous already. I mean, this cover is kind of like an element of what it looks like with all these like colors everywhere. But this one just seems to sing to me. The setting and the theme is already well represented. This feels like you're putting on a fashion show. It feels like that's exactly what you're doing, or to be more precise, a fashion company. But this one just actually, and some people are saying Board Game Ramblings did a lucky guess on this. He didn't do a lucky guess. He knew this was coming because I believe you're the ones who put out a top 10 economic games list, and you didn't put this on the top 10. I was not happy about that, and nor were loads of other people. But you've already had shtick for that, so we'll leave you a bit alone. This is kind of weird though because it's showing old images. I need to find some of the more recent images for this game, which is proving a little bit difficult. Well, here's one. I mean, you've got the components in the box already look gorgeous. You've got these little materials that you get of different colors. You've got the tokens for how many points you get in the show. But I'm trying to find an element of the board. Now, that's your player board. Yeah, I'm having to trust a board game. Here we go. This is much better. Right, okay. Let's try and blow up this image. So, it looks a little bit faded. I mean, this is their photo, but what you've got here is essentially action, what do you call it? Like actions on the board that resolve in order from 1 to 9. You are putting on a fashion show several times over 12 months. It splits into quarters though, so 2 months of each quarter you prepare for the show. You get the designs, you get the models, you get the materials to make the designs, you get the bank loans if you need to. It is an economic game, while also building up your company. So you get contracts that give you cool abilities that last for part of the game. You've got buildings that you can put into your company that give you cool stuff. You've got employees that you can get. But then when you get to the 3rd month of a quarter, you put on the actual show. So you submit anywhere from 1 to 5 designs for your show, and you get awarded points based on how well you do in the show. But if you look here on the right of the board, where you see these little pink tiles here, where my cursor's going, I don't know if you can see my cursor on it, but they've got different requirements every time you go to a show, and there's more shows. So in one show, everybody might care about having the biggest collection ever. So it's like, right, I better have 5 bits of clothing into my show. But with the second show, you might find that they care more about your PR rather than anything else. So it's kind of like, right, well, I haven't got the best designs, but hey, I'm on social media all the time. Everybody loves me, so I can get points that way. Some like it to be trendy. So it's like, yeah, it doesn't have to be the biggest collection ever, but if it's really trendy, it's good. And some of the thematic elements are just so good here. You know, the employees make sense, the buildings make sense, the whole idea of everybody having different tastes for fashion makes sense, the styles, you know, you've got these, I wonder if I can find some images for the cards. That would be nice. Oh yeah, did I mention it looks gorgeous? Yeah, there's the buildings, there's some employees and contracts. Trying to find some of the designs. Yeah, here we go. So there's a few of them. So they come with this like hand-drawn style, as if somebody was doing it on a sketchbook. The materials in the top left, the rewards in the bottom, and what style they are. So rock, sport, casual. But you can change up the styles. So you might get an employee, a fashion designer, who can change your sporty clothing into a casual clothing or something like that, because that makes sense. If you put the right clothes on the right person and get the right designer, you can make pretty much any style of clothing work in the fashion industry, because it's all about what you do with them. And this game just goes through that. And, you know, if you don't think this is a heavy game, then fine. But personally, I think this is still a heavy economic game. I mean, you make a mistake, you're going to suffer. You know, you get caught with your trousers down where you've spent too much money on materials, or your designs, you get beaten out in the show. It's going to hurt. And there's a lot to think about. But, it just so sings with this one. I mean, as I say, not the biggest fan of economic games, and people will mention Brass and Arkwright and all that lot, and Brass, I give it respect, but I don't mind it, but I just get bored with that setting. I am not even going to touch Arkwright with a barge pole. There's no way I'm going to like that one. But this is a more approachable heavy economic game, and just looks gorgeous and so thematic. This is what Ignasti does. Board games that tell stories, and I've had some great times laughing with people, making jokes and references about their companies versus mine, you know, fashion jokes. You know, you don't have to be involved in the fashion world. I mean, come on, case in point, you know, to actually say what it is. And it's just, it's an awesome game. Love it. I mean, when they said they were going to do this as a video game setting, I was actually a little bit, oh no, why didn't you keep the fashion one? And then you reverted back to the fashion. And yeah, this is how you reprint a decent economic game. And like I say, me and economic games, for me to talk so much praise about this one, it's gotta mean something. Because I do not give high praise to a lot of economic games that lightly. So, next up, we are on now 26. This is not a new title. This has dropped 18 places. This means this used to be in my top 10. And now it's dropped 18 places, but whatever. It's in my top 30 games of all time. I mean, everything from pretty much my top 40 onwards is a 10 out of 10 game. So I absolutely love these games. And this one has dropped because, not just for not getting it play, but it is quite a bit of a there's a bit of a setup there. And, with the expansion elements thrown in, you get even more setup to deal with. And like I say, there is a bit of a luck of the draw aspect with drawing meeples out of a bag, which makes me go, not entirely, it irks me a little bit with that. But it's still wonderfully thematic, looks gorgeous. It's based on, an animal type that I love. I love these things, and at least if you are to call them animals, I suppose they are a part of the animal kingdom. But I'm talking about what some people call really garish looking Dinosaur Island. Dinosaur Island's my 26. This game is great fun to play, wonderfully thematic, and just crosses the T's and dots the I's and scratches my itches everywhere on a dinosaur game. Some people don't like the art style. I can understand why. It's a very 80s, shall we say, 80s style artwork. But Dinosaur Island is just awesome. And yes, I'm sorry I can't have a number somewhere on the screen. I mentioned at the start, I have not had time to figure out how to do lower thirds and stuff like that on OBS. It's something I'm going to look into for the actual top 10s, but I just can't now. But yeah, had it in the top 10 last year, and it's just dropped down a bit this time, but still awesome sauce. It's just, every reference you can make about the Jurassic Park movies will come out of everybody's mouth when you play this game. First of all, having to get the dinosaur recipes, and then getting the DNA with your little tracks there on your player board, to get the various DNA you need to make the dinosaurs. Are you going to go for herbivores, which are low entertainment value, but they're safe? Or are you going to go for the big, the fun ones, the T-Rexes and the big predator ones who give all the entertainment value and bring in the patrons, but then also tend to eat half your employees or even half the patrons? So you got to keep up your security measures. Or do you want a bit in between? Or are you just going to say, you know what? Dinosaurs are overrated. I'm just going to build a theme park. You can play this game like that. Spend more time getting fries and drink stands and hats and various other roller coasters and lakes and swimming pools, and they do come up with some stupid puns for I forget what some of them are, like raptor wings and stuff like that. They got lots of puns, but it's just a really fun game. It's not that complicated either in terms of its rules, but there's a fair bit to think about, and you've got to plan ahead and obviously be careful with how much security you have. But it's got, the color scheme I think works well with it. It just gives me that kind of 80s feel and takes me back to the whole Jurassic Park thing. But building up your little theme park here, so here's an example. So, you get your basic dinosaur in the top left, and then you've got hat stand, Jurassic Pork, here we go, t-shirts, Rex Mex, fun houses, the pterodactyl coaster, wooden coaster. Why would I want to go on a coaster made out of wood? Doesn't make sense. And the Gigantosaurus and the Ankylosaurus and the Perfinival whatever saurus, it's I can't pronounce every dinosaur. It just, you can create all sorts of really good fun parks here. It's pretty good online as well. I've got the totally liquid thing, and these dice, these amber dice, custom dice, the amber color that looks a bit like the amber thing from Jurassic Park with the mosquito. They're just so good. I mean, this is kind of like this is the step below Seasons. You know how I turn into a little schoolgirl every time I get the dice out of that one? These are kind of the next stage down. They're not as big as the Seasons dice, but man, do I love these dice. These are some gorgeous custom dice. And this just makes for a really good, fun, thematic, heavy Euro game. And remember what I like to say about a lot of these games that I like to play, thematic and heavy works for me. It just, heavy thematic games work for me. I like a Euro game that's heavy. I've done the Vital Lacerdas already to death. In fact, I think I've done them all now. And, I've got another one on this list, actually. We'll get onto that later. I've mentioned Tricarion and stuff like that. I do like these heavy Euros when the theme draws me back in. The mechanics enough might not be enough to make me enjoy it. I mean, let's take a Gaia Project, for example. I'm fine with Gaia Project. It used to be on my collection on this shelf right here. But I just never pulled it out in favor of other Euro games because I always went to the theme of those and never returned to the themeless abstract that Gaia Project is. So eventually I got rid of Gaia Project as much as I give it respect for being a decent Euro game. Whereas something like Dinosaur Island, that is not leaving my collection. In fact, it's down right there. I've even got the 2-player one, Duelosaur Island. But I must admit, don't often get to play Duelosaur Island. It's just kind of in the collection because it's a neat little game. So I'll have to see what I can do with that. And let's grab a bit of tea, I think. So yeah, really enjoy this one. Ooh, time is getting on. Let's move on. 25 is the big heavy game I was just about to talk about, actually. And this one is down 8 places from 17. So it was in the top 20. Now it's in the top 30, whatever, it's still amazing. This is the last of the Mind Clash titles, and I've already mentioned 2 of them. I've mentioned Tricarion, I've mentioned Cerebria. Why can't you see the other one? It's because it's down there, and it is, boom, Anachrony. Anachrony is my favorite, hands down, of the Mind Clash games. All 3 of their games are on my top 100. Again, heavy and thematic. It just works for me. This one blew my mind, though. Absolutely blew my mind. I mean, I didn't know what David Turksley would have been like for this. The expansion, yeah, the Dark Ader, I can't wait for it. I've kickstarted it. And besides looking great, I've got these miniatures, so I love the idea that you've got the worker placement action of, I've got all these cool buildings I've made with all these effects they give me. Right, well, I could send my workers to there, or I could send them to this main board here, where they go and do other things. But if you go outside, it's toxic, so you get in your big mech suit, you put your little guy in the top there. It is purely cosmetic, but it just looks cool to have these giant mechs with people in them on the board. Worker placement, overblown to a T, and of course, feel free to paint them at your leisure and create some interesting looking designs. Same picture. So, but this is what blew me away, this middle bit here. Now, they're playing the advanced side. I never play the advanced side of this. It's just way too complicated, way too much, especially when you get new players in. But what blew me away was the time travel. Wow, most games can't do time travel. They don't get it right, it doesn't work, but this one got it right. You start off on this bit here at the bottom, and then you go through the rounds. And the idea is that eventually a meteorite's going to hit. So this part, meteorite's going to hit. You want to be the faction that kind of rises to power afterwards, saves everybody, and is like, yeah, we want to follow you. But the meteorite hasn't hit yet. It's going to happen in the future. So you go through each part of the timeline, and you get to get bonus resources at the start of your turn. But you do it by a closed fist bid. So you sort of put resources in your hand, lay them out, and reveal. And it's like, well, okay, why don't you just get every bonus resource in the game? Because it creates paradoxes. What you're doing is that you're getting the resources from yourself in the future. And if you leave the paradoxes untouched, you run the risk of generating anomalies, which are like mine, and give it back to the bank, i.e. give it back to yourself in the past. I mean, it just warps my mind talking about it because it's so well done. Time travel theme done 100% right. Even these little super projects down here. In order to build them, you have to be in the time period. So sometimes you have to activate your little time machine, which is another building, go back in time to the point where the super project was a thing, and then build it. It's ridiculous. But, I just can't believe they managed to get it right here. And it just made for one of my most fun worker placement games that you can get. It's a table hog. It's a mind bender. You don't need to throw in every module it has. Just play the normal game and it's absolutely fine. I think it just overcomplicates itself with too many modules. The expansion I'm looking forward to, Fractures of Time or whatever it is, I have played it. It's pretty sweet. Basically, your things now sort of glitch in reality, which is pretty interesting. And the solo bot's actually pretty good, the chrono bot. But so much variety with these buildings, asymmetrical factions, great components. For the most part, the water droplets were a little bit hit and miss, and I had to upgrade the resource cubes. But yeah, for the most part, they're not bad. But, just heavy Euro with a strong theme. Remember, you're going to notice this as a bit of a trend as we go through these top 30. It's like just So nice. And it kind of creates the interesting thing of that effectively, in real life, bank loans or debt is just time travel. Think about it. You go to the bank, you take a loan. Where did that money come from? You got to pay it back eventually. So you went to the bank, you took your loan. At some point in the future, you've got to give the money back. That money is being transported back in time to yourself when you first took out the loan. Maybe time travel's already here and we didn't realize it. Let that blow your mind for a bit. It's just so good. Free Mind Clash games, 100% ratio on my top 100. In fact, in my top 50, I think. They just sing to me. I cannot wait for the new one because they're doing that. What's it called? The 2-part dinosaur worldish one. And I've played one of the modules in it. I thought it was pretty good. Is it going to be as good as these 3? I don't know at this rate. I'm not thinking it will be as good as these 3, but it could still be top 100 material. And it's going to be great. Can't wait. Right, now we come to the 4th new title on... No, sorry, we're not there yet. 24. This is going to infuriate a few people in the chat because this is an Uri Rosenberg game from Lookout. And, as I said, it's going to infuriate a few people because this one is better than the other one that it gets compared to. And I'm sorry, but it's going to happen. Most of you have guessed it by now, and I'm expecting the raid, but... Caverner's greater than the Greek color. Caverner's greater than the Greek color. Yeah, it just is. All right. So, granted, to each their own. If you want the tightness and the restrictive nature of Agricola, then by all means, have Agricola. By all means. I mean, I would happily still play Agricola. It's just, I find it just too restrictive for me. You have to get kids, otherwise you lose. I hate the idea that everybody's farm looks the same because by the end of the game, you're desperate to just grab that last carrot because you lose points for not having everything. It's just, come on. It's, not for me. But I understand why some people prefer Agricola to Caverna because they think Caverna is too loosey-goosey, which is fine. Caverna is a bit more flexible. You have a lot of... you can still get blocked out and not do your things, but it's a point salad more so than Agricola, because everything gets you points in Caverna, whether you want carrots or grain or donkeys or sheep or cows or adventuring or mining or gold or stone or coal or whatever. It's like everything is getting you points here. I mean, here it's just like animals are point, furnishings are a point, you lose point for this, mines are points, pastures are points, everything is points. But I like that. The game feels rewarding. It feels like something I want to do. And, granted, I will never play this with 6 or 7 players, so much so that I even took out my player boards out of the box, the 6 and 7 player, because I have no reason to ever play this with 6 or 7 players. I just think that's ridiculous. Let's see if I can find some better pictures here, because the problem is Caverna's got a lot of images. So hopefully I can find something a bit more... Well, that's a pretty zoomed in one. So, yeah. Oh, God, they're playing with 7 players. You crazy fools. How dare you play this with 7 players? But, table hog and a half. But you've got all the buildings, which granted, some people prefer the occupation cards. Fair enough. The occupation cards are, to be honest, the best part of Agricola. But I like the furnishing tiles. They're varied. There's lots of different paths to victory you can follow. But I just love the fact that feeding your people is there, but it's not like, oh my God, I can't possibly feed my people. Oh wait, I can convert this to this and then feed them. It's like, it's a requirement, but it's not like I'm, worried somebody's going to break my kneecaps if I don't give them some bread. But with this, it's just the variety and the fact that I get to do what I like. I mean, I love games where I get to create something in front of me. Here, I get to create the farm. As you can see, all these players have got very different farms on, all over the board. I've got in fact, is Caverna behind me? Oh, it's right behind me. So you might not be able to see, but maybe if I can tilt it. Yeah, got the Forgotten Folk as well. So the expansion gives me asymmetrical races that make your playstyles very unique, very interesting. And I just love being able to choose what I want to do. I can say, yep, this is, let's say this game I'm just going to make loads of grain and make beer. This game I'm going to make an albino tribe. I'm going to have 6 dwarfs all living in a cave with nothing but donkeys and gems to fuel themselves. And I actually came second with that one. That was quite amusing. I didn't have anything on the green tiles outside. It was quite weird. But then I had like a halfling farmer scene. And like I say, with the expansion, you've got these golem things that eat rocks. And elves and goblins and all sorts of other weird, crazy races. Magic mushrooms you can grow and stuff. Well, I think they're magic mushrooms. I think they're just mushrooms. But, there's all sorts of really cool stuff. Just love it. And granted, yes, the buildings are the same in every game, but there's so many of them and you can't build them all that you always have the selection. With Agricola, I don't like the fact that the occupation cards, you might draw a hand of 7 and half of them might be crap. Because, let's face it, come on, be honest, Agricola people, those occupation cards are not balanced in any way, shape or form. There are some that are clearly better than others, and if you draw the bad ones, well then the occupations are kind of useless. How would I rate Caverna Cave versus Cave? Not as good. I gave it a 7, I think, maybe a 6. It's fine, does the job, but personally, there's just no substitute for Caverna. I've not actually played Aura and Labora, though. People have been mentioning that, and Aura and Labora is one that I want to play, but never got a chance to. But Caverna, when that comes out, solo or multiplayer, I just love it. Just flexible variety with decent theme, lots of choices, good components, and a heavy euro. Works for me. Right, correcting myself. This is the new title. God, my throat's getting sore already. 23 is a new title to the list from Fantasy Flight Games. You're going to hear about 2 similar types of games later on in the top 30, but this one is the newest card game, I would say, to come from FFG. It's on a theme that I absolutely adore, which is superheroes. It's doing very well for me. I made this list before the recent expansion came out with a bit more variety, though, so maybe this would be a bit higher had it come out a bit before, because it was starting to lack in some places. But I'm having a good amount of fun with Marvel Champions. Marvel Champions is just singing to me as well. It is one of my favorite LCGs, and I love Marvel. I love DC. I love superheroes. Superheroes are just my thing. And I'm even excited for The Boys' final episode coming tomorrow. Well, sort of. There better be some soup-on-soup action in that episode, because as much as everyone else rags about The Boys being the greatest show of all time, for me it's above average. But I'm still enjoying it. But I like my superheroes to be like this kind of superhero, not complete jerks. I like this whole, like, I mean, who's my favorite out of this cover here? I mean, I suppose Spider-Man's always been a favorite hero I've grown up with. I love Iron Man, but then I love Captain America in this. Captain Marvel was cool. She-Hulk, new series on She-Hulk. I'm interested to see what she's like. The Hulk's great. Guardians of the Galaxy, Thanos, greatest villain ever for Marvel. This game is just like, what I want for a Marvel game. I mean, Marvel Legendary is no longer in my top 100 anymore. That's gone out. It's still on my shelf, but it's not in my top 100. This one, though, just came in swinging. I mean, I get to play all sorts of different heroes. In fact, you can check out my solo play I did a few weeks back for Black Panther when I did a commiseration video for the death of Chadwick. And, I did a solo play with Black Panther versus Ultron, I think, and that was good fun. But the Rise of Red Skull expansion that's just come out has given me more variety with the villains, which is something this game really did need. It was kind of lacking on a decent selection of villains. Now I've got lots more villains to play and all sorts of great combinations that I can throw together. But gotta find some better images. Come on, Board Game Geek, you're slacking off here. Let's see if I can do this one. Yeah. Here we go, it's using the playmat. Oh, it's a Lizard Den playmat. Oh, of course, Jacob Zimba. We're in talks about me doing some accessorized videos on his playmats, actually, so you might get some more stuff on that soon. But, here, Spider-Man going up against, with a Justice deck. You've got the 4 aspects, Justice, Protection, Aggression, and Leadership, I think it's called. You can make all sorts of different combinations, and the game itself is quite simple to play in terms of rules. I mean, it's mainly a case that your cards are also your resource, and you have that hard choice every round of like, I want to play this awesome card, and then I gotta ditch the rest of my hand to pay for it. Always one card short, no matter what. All the heroes play very differently. I mean, Spider-Man is much different compared to Hulk, who is much different compared to Black Widow. Who did I just play in the campaign for Rise of Red Skull? I played Hawkeye. So I basically right, here's my cool arrows, kill him quick before they overperform me because he's a bit of a weakling. But yeah, you get so much variety in this game now. I mean, it's an LCG. You have to buy all the packs, so don't get into it if you're not prepared to spend the money. That's certainly something I will say, but even deck construction is not that difficult, even with all the cards that there is, because you just pick one aspect and the hero. The hero's cards all come by default, so all you've got to do is just tailor the aspect and the neutral cards. Doesn't take very long to do with the card pool that's there. and even I can build a half decent deck, and I usually kind of suck at deck building when it comes to these things. I usually net deck off the internet, but here I can throw something together that's reasonably good and not have too much trouble. But yeah, really enjoying it. If I want to get my Marvel kick, if I want to scratch my Marvel itch, this is the game I pull out now. Not Marvel Legendary, but this one. I mean, I can't get rid of Marvel Legendary because it's in the giant crate up there, but I still enjoy the game. Hopefully sometime I'll get to play it again. But yeah, if I didn't have it in a crate, I would have probably sold my Marvel Legendary because this one is now my go-to Marvel game. So if I could bring any hero into the game, what could it be? Ooh, which hero has not been done? Who do I like? Well, to be fair, most of my favorites have already been represented. We've even got She-Hulk now as a new one. Most of them are allies. Who have we not had? Falcon's an ally, so that doesn't really work. Oh, actually, to be fair, some of the new ones they're bringing out, I think will actually cater for it because Ant-Man's coming. I think he's going to be pretty sweet as a hero. But I'm also really looking to Scarlet Witch. I think Scarlet Witch is going to be a really interesting hero to play. With her, but I mean, she's somewhat overpowered anyway. But like Captain Marvel, and I must admit, I do find it kind of amusing where I go, right, today I'm going to play Captain Marvel versus Rhino. How exactly is Rhino supposed to win this fight? It's like, come on, it's Captain Marvel. She can basically just go boosh, and there goes Rhino. How does Rhino win against Captain Marvel? I have no idea, but it's amusing. But you create whatever setup you like. Love it though. Right, 2 more, and what we got? 13 minutes before we hit the hour, so I think I'm in good stead. 22. Antoine Bolzer and Repos Production. This game has gone down. Ooh, where are we going? Down 10 places. No, yep, 10 places. No, 11 places, sorry, because I think it was my number 11. And this one, still, like, really awesome. Oh, yeah, we got the Galaxy's Most Wanted box coming. Yeah, with Guardians of the Galaxy. Anyway, I digress. This one, yeah, down 11 places. It is probably my favorite drafting game. Yeah, I think that's... I don't know. There is that. I think you could class that as a drafting game. So, yeah, so maybe my second favorite. But like I say, this one was the first game I played at my Portsmouth on Board club that got me into gaming. I played some games beforehand, like Citadels and Steve Jackson stuff beforehand. But when I first decided, you know what? I'm bored. I'm lonely. Oh, wait, I'm still lonely. Oh, well, that's not changed. But when I sort of thought like, oh, yeah, this one... I need to go to a board game club. I like board games. I'm going to go and see what's there, and I just want to meet people. This was the first turning point for me getting into the board game hobby. I went to the club, and a bunch of people were playing this game. Did not know anything about it. Looked cool. Big cards and iconography everywhere, and no text. Decent artwork. It was a hit at the time. It's still a hit now. And they set me down. 7 players. We played it, and we essentially... went for it, and I just thought, oh, I've got to have this expansion as well. All right, well, let me just draft these cards. Let's see. So I've got some people who are good with the reds. Let's just keep the red cards. We're good. All right, we'll go with it. And I won the game. My first ever game of 7 Wonders. 7 Wonders with leaders. The first game I ever played with leaders. 7-player game. I won it by munchkining red cards like you wouldn't believe with the leaders that got them cheaper and gave me points for them. And, it's always tried to get into my top 100, this game. It's tried so hard. And it just can't manage. Poor 7 Wonders, but still love it. I mean, whoopee. So it can't get into my number 10, but it's still like... Oh, really, really good. I mean, I still get a kick out of it. No, it's not on my shelf at the moment because the first edition is in a warm box in the other room with all the expansions. And I'm going to sell it because I have yet to do a video on this, I know. And I know Board Game Ramblings and a couple of other people have already beaten me to this. I was waiting for an expansion to come out for it and it's delayed. So I'm going to have to just do it with the base set and cities. But I've got the second edition of 7 Wonders as well. So that's going to replace this one. But what I'm going to do is not get all the expansions because cities is a must. You must get cities. The leaders is a must. You must get leaders. Armada, I thought it was a good one, but the more I think about it, Armada doesn't combine well with the other expansions. So the problem that I have with this is that if I want to use Armada, I can't use the better expansions. And I liked Babel as well, the Babel expansion, however you pronounce it. And I seem to be in the minority for people that like the Babel expansion. But I thought it was really, really sweet. But obviously I can't get to play it as much. So it's like, well, there's no point me getting those 2 expansions for 2nd edition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the base set, leaders, and cities. Stop. That's it. If they give me more wonders and stuff like that, then fine, but I'm not going to get any more big box expansions than that for the 2nd edition of 7 Wonders. But what else can I say about it that people don't already know? It's a drafting game. It's one of the best drafting games in existence. It's so well known. It's won umpteen amount of awards. Whatever you say about the differences between the 1st and 2nd edition, there's pros and cons to each. But this game just, gives me a lot of joy to play, whether it's on the app, on Board Game Arena. Board Game Arena's got a good implementation of it. Gorgeous artwork across the game, but it's just nice, simple rules, simple iconography, even though you've got quite a bit of iconography to learn. I mean, I'm not going to lie, there is quite a bit for you. People have said, I wonder if I've played Paper Tales. I have. I've only played it once, didn't like it. 2 reasons I didn't like Paper Tales with first impressions. Firstly, it's over too quick. I mean, I know I like short games, but my God, it's like literally, I'll play these cards. Oh, they all die. Oh, all right, fine. Okay, well, maybe I'll build up again. Oh, the game's ended. What? Hang on. It's like you get no time to build up anything. So it's like, well, what's the point of any of the cards that last for a while if the game's like 4 rounds and it's over? So I just didn't quite get that. But also, one thing about Paper Tales, and I know this is subjective, eye of the beholder, but man, Paper Tales is ugly. I hate the artwork in Paper Tales. It's horrible. It's like, I mean, come on, 7 Wonders, Paper Tales. No contest, come on. 7 Wonders completely kicks Paper Tales to the curb when it comes to artwork. And, I got shown the game. I didn't own it. Somebody else showed it to me. Didn't like it. Never sought it out afterwards, even though it's got a solo mode in the expansion, just not too fast. And, I mean, I'll try it again if someone puts it in front of me, but my first impressions of the game were not good. But, what's, to each their own. And people like to compare this one now to It's a Wonderful World. I did a review of that. You can check it out. I think I gave it a 6 out of 10. Wonderful World's okay, but it's got some issues with it. But that over 7 Wonders? No, 7 Wonders, honestly. And finally, let's move on to another. So these two were actually neck and neck last year, 7 Wonders and this one. And so this one has fallen by the same amount of places as the other one. So I think they both... Is that right? If I've done the maths? If I've done the maths right, yeah, they both fell by 11 places. So this one was in the top 10. Literally just in the 10. And it's fallen a little bit, mainly just because of lack of plays lately, because COVID has kind of got in the way, particularly with my 2-player games. But it's nowhere in here. It's in the other room. It's in with a collection of other small games from the same publisher. But this is the best one from the publisher, and it is one of the best. Not the best, because I've got some higher 2-player games coming. But when it comes to just like, I need an interesting, unique 2-player game that I can show off really quick with nice artwork and a unique set of rules that hasn't really been done before, I, of course, pull out Hanami Koji, or however you pronounce it. Hanami Koji is a fantastic 2-player game. So simple in its rules. You pretty much just have like a hand of cards, and they're numbered for how many cards there are in a set. You lay out these geishas, get this old Jixia Academy. They're exactly the same, it's just different artwork. But you then have the item cards with each, and you've got these 4 action tokens here. So you got the one player's purple, one player's orange, all the same. And you flip over one of the action tiles and do what it says. It could be scrap 2 cards, lay down 3 cards, your opponent picks 1, you get the other 2, that kind of thing. And the cards that you collect go on your sides of the geisha. The idea is that whoever has the most cards on their side of the geisha wins the geisha. Well, wins favor with it, whatever you want to call it. And the idea is that if you get 11 points worth of geisha, or you get 4 geisha cards on your side, then you win the game. This game can finish in the first round. I think the longest I've ever played this to is 5 rounds. I remember playing a 5-round game of this. It was somewhat epic, but typically this will last between 1 to 3 rounds, and simple rules, but the choices you make in this, they hurt. You've only got 4 actions in this game. You make 4 choices, like 4 main choices in the round. And they are some of the hardest choices I've ever played in most games. You know, whether you just when you decide, right, I'm going to lay out some cards, and your opponent gets to pick them, and you're like, oh, which ones do I lay? Because if I lay out this one, will they grab it? Maybe if I can goad them into picking this one. But then on top of that, your choices get more limited as the round goes on. So if you do the action early, you think, oh, I've got all the choice in the world with this action. Okay, I'll do it right now. But then you get to the other action later on and you realize you're top decking the card that you've got to scrap. It's like, uh-oh, that's not good. So you think, next round, okay, I'll do that one first. Now I've got all the cards in the world to choose which one I'm going to keep. That one. But then you get to the end and suddenly the one where you put out 2 pairs of cards for you and your opponent, it's like, I've got to put out these 4 cards. So how on earth do I pair them together? It's such a clever system and goes over well with everybody I've shown it to. I've had people at DICE events when I've shown them this game, like they've never heard of it, they like the artwork, I teach them 1 full round of games, they then go to the store and then they buy it. I'm probably owed royalties by DICE Portsmouth for the amount of copies of Hanami Koji they've probably sold, or them and Games Quest, for how many Hanami Koji copies they've sold, just because I've shown it to people and they've gone, this is amazing, I want it, and I'm always teaching it to couples, because everybody turns up to half of those events as a couple, so I basically have to say, this is a game I really love to play, in the rare occasions I ever have just 2 of me in the same situation, yeah, I know, violin, whatever, but it's just such a really awesome game, such a good one, and, I mean, box is a little bit too big for the tiny amount of components. Well, there's big tarot-sized cards and a few tokens. How big do you want the box to be? It's a small, portable box. I mean, if it was any smaller, we'd be on to, like, Mintworks levels, and Mintworks is just a gimmick. So, it's just like one of those things. But, yeah, really do love this game. So, yeah. Woo. 30 to 21, and my throat's already in that. This next 2 nights is going to be interesting. But on the next 10, we have got 2 new games, and the rest of them you've seen. Not too many movers, though, compared to last year, with the exception of 1 big razor. But you're going to see some interesting shifts in my list. So before I wrap this up in, a couple of minutes or so, let's have a quick gander at some of the comments. I'm not going to answer loads of questions because, like I say, this is not this type of stream, but I'm glad that everybody's come here to say what's going on. I'm just going to keep scrolling down and see what various stuff has been said. As for pleasantries, I'm doing fine. Thank you very much. Why we still can't get Terramara here in the US? I've no idea on that one. I hope you'll be able to get it soon. Wingspan Citadels, everybody's just catching people up in terms of what games they were. Trying to see if there's any shades being thrown. The economic games. Oh no, this is when I was talking about Board Game Ramblings not putting Pret-a-Porter on their list. Yeah, that's just, like I say, people we need to realise that we know each other in a kind of friendly comic rivalry in a sense. We get on well, we're friends. It's just, we like to poke fun at each other. And believe me, they're due for one of my promo videos soon, the channel promotions. They're not going to be on the next review, they'll be on the one after, so probably Gods Love Dinosaurs or Alma Mater, whichever one I get to first. And yeah, you'll see we like to poke fun at each other. What do we got? Yep, can't get numbers somewhere on the screen, I'm afraid, because I just do not have the facility in OBS to do that. I don't know how, I haven't had time to learn, but we'll... hopefully in the future I'll be able to look at some ideas for that. But believe me, doing this stuff is a lot harder than it looks. What have we got? Can't wait for the new expansion for Anachrony. Yep, definitely. Fractured Time's going to be good. I'm seeing a lot of love for most of these games, which is good. Not seeing much in the way of hatred. Most people are agreeing with me on Caverna versus Agricola, which is kind of surprising. It's like, I would have expected more people to like Agricola, to be honest, but well, fine. Kang for Marvel Champions, yes, I've just had a post notification. It's in the post to me, so I cannot wait to get that as well. Let's see. Yes, you didn't need to buy multiple core sets of Marvel Champions. That was another good thing. You buy 1 core set and then you just need to... That's it. Paper Tales is so good, but I prefer 7 Wonders Duels. Amen to that. 7 Wonders Duels is definitely better than Paper Tales. I prefer 7 Wonders Duel to 7 Wonders. We'll come back to that. It's a Wonderful World, 6 out of 10. I'm unsubscribing, thumbs down. Boo! Come back, Jesus. It's a Wonderful World is fine, but I just found it very generic. more generic than half of these other themeless drafting games. More generic than Hadara, or on that same level as Hadara. Both are very generic drafters, but I just found that with 2 players, it wasn't too bad, but with more players, it was just quite chaotic. I mean, you can't possibly see what everybody else needs in terms of resources, and because it's so easy to get the resource you need, it didn't seem like it was easy to hate draft in any way. There was no theme. It was just basically, I know Seven Wonders has no theme either, but it came out first and it has better mechanics, I think. People just have their likes and dislikes, and I just didn't really gel with It's a Wonderful World, especially as everyone made such a big deal about it. And it's like, really? Is it that special? I wonder if you'd like Fox in the Forest, a 2-player trick-taking game where you have to win just the right number of chicks. I don't tend to go mad for trick-taking games, but I don't mind them. I mean, I've got the crew in the other room. I've not played Fox in the Forest. I would certainly like to try it, though, because I hear very good things. It's kind of like the one up the top 5 every time somebody mentions trick-taking lists. Jixia Academy is just the same thing as Hanamakoji with men. That's pretty much it. It's men and scholars. Good list. Hanamakoji has shades of Battle Line. I don't like Battle Line, so I hope it doesn't have shades of that. Shot and Totten or whatever it's called. I really didn't like that game. I suppose you could argue this has kind of shades of that, but then I hate Shot and Totten and I love this game, so once again that. Crossing my fingers, hoping GWT and Concordia will make it to your top 20. Yeah, keep on dreaming, mate. Everyone consider giving a quid or 2 to Luke. This is good. Oh, thanks, Craig, but you're already a Patreon, so you're a bit biased on that. But, if people want to get to the Patreon, that's their choice. I never force anybody to do it through gimmicks, giveaways, and stuff like that. Now we're starting to get the Gloomhaven that. So I think this is kind of a good time to wrap up, actually. I know I want to talk to you guys a bit more and interact, but as I said, I want to keep these streams to a reasonable length, and I think this one is getting on to the just over an hour length. Where's the time? Where can I see how long it's? Yeah, just over an hour, and I think that's a good time. If I can keep these to an hour each, then that's great. But don't worry, we're getting into October, and in October I'll be due to do a Q&A. Another Q&A, because I'm doing those monthly. I've got solo plays in mind, so I want to do a Roll for the Galaxy, and I've just bought Root. I made some deals on Twitter about it earlier, and I just paid the 12 quid or whatever it is to get Root. So I might do a solo play live on stream of the tutorials, a bit like Tom Vassell did. So it should be pretty sweet. So, like I say, you'll get me for an hour each day for the next 2 nights. If you can't turn up to them all, that's fine. Watch them at your leisure. You take your time. I'm just glad that a lot of you are here to enjoy them, and this will at least mean I can get through the top 100. Because if I tried to do 3 pre-recorded lists, I'd never get them finished until at least November, and that would be problematic. But don't worry. Next time I do a Q&A, I'll be more than happy to chat with you in as much detail as you like about anything at that time. And, maybe I'll be able to up the quality of the streams after I'm done with the top 100 by thinking about an Elgato Stream Deck, thinking about lower thirds and stuff like that. So we'll see. Will the games I like the games more? Hard to say. I mean, all these games are 10 out of 10. I love them. So hopefully I'll try and streamline it to the next one. So take care, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending on where on earth you're from. I know some of you are across the waters, shall we say. And until next time, until tomorrow night at 8 o'clock BST, remember it's only a game, and I'll catch you soon. So thanks for joining me. Take care. I think I'm going to go watch Onward, Pixar movie. I got recommended it. So take care, everyone. See you soon.